Sometimes when things go wrong, you can't blame life. Cause when you shot your shot, what was your aim like? What were you targeting? Cause if it ain't right, and you still go with it, then that is on you. It's on you, it's on you, it's on you.
What's going on, you guys? This is Romi and Sam. Hey, and you are listening to the Mindset Rebooted podcast.
And if you are a first-time listener, thank you so much for stopping by. Here on the Mindset Rebooted podcast, we like to have conversations that help us to elevate the way we think.
So if you get any value from today's episode, please go ahead and share with one other person so we can help more people.
Today, we are talking about lifestyle, perspective on lifestyle. We're talking about unlimited PTO. We're talking about working hard versus working smart. We're talking about the changes that we need to make so that we can have the lifestyle that we ultimately want. There is no right or wrong answer, but it really is all based on your individual goals. So what are they? And let's get cracking. I thought you were on drugs when I saw your post about the whole, you don't prefer unlimited PTO.
I didn't say that. I said it was unattractive to me.
Unattractive?
Yeah, so I put on the Facebook post that unlimited PTO is unattractive to me, period. I want to work. Mm-hmm. That was the first half of the post. The second half was just me saying how when I had to take days off, I always thought of like, oh, this is the work I'm missing. And then from there, lots of people had their comments.
On your days off, you think about the work you're missing?
The work that I'm missing or the work that I could have done?
I actually think unlimited PTO is extra attractive but it's really just because of my lifestyle, right? Like I love traveling. I love being able to have the flexibility to, do whatever I need to do. I got 3 dogs at home. One of them is special needs. So I really need to be able to get him, his medicine and his food and his water, like at a certain time and regularly too, right? And then checking on my parents, right? Like I'm out here in Cali, but my parents, they're on the East Coast. And I have family members that are dispersed in so many different regions. And then my wife and I, we love traveling. I think I kind of mentioned that before. And so it's like, for me, I prefer to have that flexibility to be able to be on the go so I can get to the different things I want to. That's one of the reasons why unlimited PTO works for me. Like, it's not like I'm gonna be away for like a year and be like, all right, guys, thanks, and then come back a year later. But like, just knowing how I move, that gives me that freedom, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what I noticed. So in that post was done on purpose, not just because I was randomly thinking about PTO that day, it was because that's what I knew was trending on Twitter. So I was like, let me talk about it so I could get some action on my Facebook. And so with all the comments I saw both perspectives. There were people like you talking about they want unlimited PTO because of family responsibilities or things they want to do with their family, or like how you mentioned they have 3 dogs. Like if you have 3 dogs, the way I saw it was like, oh, well, they have kids. It's the same thing where you have to respond to someone else that's relying on you.
Yeah.
And so the people who had situations like that appreciated it a lot more. It was very attractive to them. They're like, yeah, I want it. Mm-hmm. And then whereas some of the other ones who didn't have families, they tended to be more guys, middle-aged or even younger. They wanted to hustle and bustle. And they were like my similar mindset to me where like, well, I don't have those responsibilities, so I want to work. And when I'm not working at my main job, my days off, I'm still working on something else. So because of that mindset, different mindsets, none of them are wrong. It's just different mindsets. That's why to me, I was like, unlimited PTO is unattractive.
You know what's crazy? I think like when you talk about like the whole like on my time off working on something outside of my day job, that to me is one of the reasons why unlimited PTO will be even more attractive. It's because a lot of people that I know who have unlimited PTO typically are like in tech. Me personally, the people that I know who have it.
Yeah.
And a lot of them also have their own entrepreneurial endeavors outside of their day job. So having unlimited PTO and that flexibility to be able to do things allows for them to network and really, take their own businesses to the next level, which is some of the reasons why I personally would prefer that. And it's also beneficial for companies as well. A lot of companies have found that if they offer PTO, a lot of people are not taking the PTO, and so they end up having to pay them out anyway for that PTO. And so to me, all around, it benefits both parties. I think if someone's worried about productivity, they could probably just kind of put a cap on how much PTO you can take at one time, but still make it unlimited for like what you can do throughout the year. So like maybe instead of a whole month or 2 months or 3 months of you just being gone on PTO, which some people would consider an abuse, maybe you're like, okay, no more than 2 to 3 weeks at one time. You know what I mean? And stuff like that, however you manage it. But for me, like I said, I don't think there's any right or wrong answer concerning unlimited PTO. I think it's really just about lifestyle and goals. And if it's adding to it, then great. If it's subtracting, then reevaluate it, you know what I mean?
I do, but before we get on the lifestyle side, I think it's also based, like I mentioned it offline earlier, it's also on what is your role mean. So are you just a task-related role, meaning that you have this to-do list and that's all you do? You don't need to interact with other people, or if you do, it's just very minuscule communication of, hey, this is updated, I need you to verify this type of thing. Or is it one of those where you're project managing something that's like a 6-month project, and if you take those 1 or 3 weeks off or one month off, how does that affect a long-term project versus someone who's just doing daily tasks?
I guess that kind of is part of lifestyle, because like that's just how you live. Me personally, I prefer the roles that are more so like, they don't necessarily have deadlines to them. They can, but I mean, like, I don't have to have this building up in, a year's time. I prefer the roles that are like, yo, when I manage my time properly and I take care of the tasks that are necessary, things that are pushing the business forward, in whatever time frame I do that in, as long as I'm adding value, like I prefer those, because that gives me that flexibility that I'm, looking for, as opposed to, dang, I just gotta be, balls to the wall, like for 7 months straight, project management. Because I've been in that type of role. And for me, in that type of role, it didn't provide that flexibility. I mean, I was doing like 15, 16-hour days at some point. And for me, being a husband, being someone who has dogs with special needs, all those different things, I wasn't able to fully be, there the way I wanted to. So, again, I don't even think there's a right or wrong answer to this. I think it's just about lifestyle preference, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if somebody is listening to this right now, you should be asking yourself, like, is what I'm doing currently in agreement with the lifestyle that I'm looking to have?
How do you decide what lifestyle you want? So for me, I see people who are living a lifestyle that I envy, and I kind of like take pieces, almost like at a buffet. Like, I want to have that where I could eat whatever I want to eat and still be fit. And then I want to have that where like I actually look fit, so I need time to exercise, or I want a trainer. And then there's other people who are like, all right, they're traveling for these events, I want to be traveling for those events. So I pick and choose, and that's how I'm kind of catering or developing my lifestyle towards. How are you creating your lifestyle in your mind?
It's really based on what is it that I actually desire and care about. Like, what are like the non-negotiables for me? I put myself in like mentally, I'll think about if I was doing a certain role, or if I was living a certain place, or whatever it is that I'm doing. And when I think about it, I'm like, if I were to be doing that, would I still feel fulfilled? And if I say, no, I don't think so, I have to think deeper. And I'm like, well, what is it that doesn't make me feel fulfilled? So then I start to realize, okay, the things that I really, really desire at this chapter in my life is to be able to travel around and be able to explore, meet new people, just see what's going on in the great world out there. And so when I think about that, that really is the nucleus for everything else. Like, I personally am not someone who cares a whole bunch about cars. I don't care a whole bunch about fashion and different things like that. So I'm not as like taken, like whenever I see people living a certain lifestyle, like kind of like how you say, oh yeah, I see this person doing this and I see that and I take that from it. And this, for me, it's not really like that. The only thing I really care about is being able to add more money and assets to my possession so that I'm able to then have the flexibility to do whatever it is I may want, even if it's on a whim. And so there is no like set thing. There is no like, oh man, I just gotta make sure I'm driving that car. There's nothing like that. It's just, for me, one of my biggest values is having freedom, financial freedom and things like that. And so that's really how I decide what's for me and what's not for me. Is this in alignment with what makes me me?
I agree with that, but I also think that whole decision of wanting financial freedom and stuff, that's still like someone influenced you in that way. Like when I was using the example of me picking other people's lifestyles, not necessarily picking the material things, but that was like the being fit aspect, being able to just exercise and stuff. That is, like, in my mind, the same thing as wanting financial freedom. That's just wanting physical fitness.
So when you say
it's not a material thing.
I got you. When you say someone influenced you in that way, I would have to say yes and no. But obviously yes, because more so what influenced me were experiences. Now, obviously people are part of those experiences. So yes, people do have an influence. But like the financial freedom aspect is because as a child, I knew how it felt to not have. I knew how it felt to move from apartment to apartment, for, you know, my parents to work really, really hard and it still looked like, you know, they were struggling. They always provided and everything like that. But to know that there was still struggles going on financially, to me, I was like, that just didn't really make sense. So then I started to shift my focus from doing the things that people typically say is working hard to what are the people who have financial freedom doing? And to me, that was like working smart.
Yeah.
You know, and so in that regard, I was influenced by people, but it was really more so because of the past experiences. I was like, well, now let me be influenced by the people who have the opposite experience of what I was accustomed to. So, I mean, that's really how I end up going about it, is like past experiences that have made me feel great. I'm like, oh man, that's good. I want to keep that going or build upon it. Things that are negative or that I didn't like, I'm like, yeah, let's really, really do the opposite. And the financial freedom aspect is definitely a huge thing. Like I'm super anal about stuff like that.
You mentioned working hard versus working smarter, right? And I think that's very hard to separate in a lot of people's minds.
Yeah.
Because like I'm pretty sure you and I both grew up watching movies and hearing the whole jargon. Hey, you gotta work hard, you gotta work harder, you gotta grind and all that. But we're seeing a new thing, at least what I'm seeing now is it seems that you don't necessarily have to work harder physically to get the end goal. Like there's things that, like one of the things I've started learning from my mentors is they're like, what are the 5 things that you're doing every single day? It could be boring, but you repeat it every single day because you know that those 5 things move you further than just having a busybody day. And so that in my mind is like, okay, so I gotta choose what is smarter for me, what I get more return on investment for, versus just having a long list of to-do.
Having that long list of to-do, yeah, you can, you know, exert a lot of energy physically. You can spend a lot of time into the outside individual thinking about, oh yeah, this person works very hard. I think that those values of working hard was not just taught through like the movies that we saw, but I think also coming up with, you know, families, right? If you think about the United States of America, it's a nation of immigrants. Most immigrants who migrated over to this country, especially if they ended up having like family businesses and things like that, it was a lot of hard work that went into it for them to be well established. That makes sense. The other thing too is just being in school, right? What do schools teach you? They teach you to work hard to be employed for someone else. That's why they tell you to also go to college and get your degree, because you're looking to be an asset, to get a job, to work for somebody. These are all of the different things that are embedded in our minds from the time that we're young. And so we often think of work hard equals success. That's what we think. because of what we've been told. The thing is, people are starting to understand differently in this day and age. I think maybe because of the technological advancements and social media and things like that, but we're realizing that all of those different things that were told to us, which had us working hard, resulted in either being worse off or just not in achieving the exact same things that they said we would achieve. Or maybe we've achieved, or maybe the working hard model was the way to achieve success back in like the 50s and 60s. But today it's not like that. People are growing in knowledge and they're doing things way more efficiently. And so working hard, I think that while there's virtue in working hard, I think the focus should more so be on one, working smart, and two, being able to rechannel your energy towards that which is gonna add to your goals as opposed to subtract. So for example, I may work hard to learn a specific subject, right? That may require doing a lot of reading, a lot of reaching out to people, a lot of networking. That may be tiring for me, both mentally and physically. But in that specific example, that might be the thing that's the game changer that I was looking for. Now, was I using the exact same amount of time in a day as, the janitor down the block? Was I, spending the exact amount of time? Yeah, sure, we may have been spending the exact amount of time, but you'll see that my situation may have changed, exponentially as opposed to his, only because he's doing the exact same thing. And I just did something that was different. It took me out of my comfort zone and it made me acquire something new that I did not have previously. Nevertheless, we use the exact same energy in the exact amount of time. And so that's what I mean, like when I say we gotta get into the habit of more so working smart as opposed to working hard. It's just doing that which is going to add to your goals and change your lifestyle positively, as opposed to just exerting energy in a way that's gonna keep you at the same level or worse.
This made me think of, the three, like the different types of leverages, right? Because all of us, if we're starting at low level skill set or knowledge, what we have the plentiful of is time, our time. So that's why we usually just start working for somebody, because we'll trade our time for money.
Of course.
Right? And so I think as we progress in what we want in our lifestyle, our mindset, our situations for family or responsibilities, time may not necessarily be as plentiful as it used to be, but because we invested so much time before we have money now, we're able to spend that money, that's our second leverage, to accumulate new knowledge, new experiences or training, like you were saying, to push us forward. And then I think a certain point, I think this is where I'm at, because I've been in that place where I spend money to accumulate more knowledge, whether that's sales, marketing, whether that's leadership, whether that's personal growth. I'm accumulating all of those and I'm still trading my time for money. But I think I've started reaching this place where now I have the leverage of knowledge. I have accumulated enough knowledge and experience, firsthand experience, that people are now paying me for my knowledge. And I think that might be where I'm transitioning from working hard, even though I want to work hard because that's what I've been doing for most of my life in terms of giving up a lot of my time. Now I'm like, okay, how do I work smarter and just start using my knowledge to my advantage?
Here's the thing too. A lot of times working hard, this is gonna sound like a contradiction. Working hard is the easy thing to do, okay? Because
yeah, I agree with that.
You know what I mean? Because there may not be any risk taking involved, right? If I just continue to just work hard, trade my time for money, and I'm exerting my energy, that may result in me working hard and feeling like, yeah, I earned my money today. But no real risk was involved. I may be the lowest guy on the totem pole and I may not be responsible for anything really. Yeah. But by me gaining more knowledge, they say when you know better, you do better. And by me taking on risks, because obviously what's the point of acquiring all that knowledge and then not applying it?
Yeah.
Now I'm stepping into the realm of unfamiliar, which is not easy. That is actually hard to do. And it comes with a level of risk, especially if you end up being the top guy on the totem pole, because now you're responsible for so much. Yeah. And so when people look at the lifestyle you have and they look at how you have quote unquote flexibility, What they don't realize is that you also carry all the risk and responsibility. All of these other people who were just working hard, maybe they were working hard for you. What responsibility do they bear aside from maybe that of their own individual household? You know what I mean? Where you'll have your own household, you'll have also the people under you, and you may even have great social responsibility, you know, to the world. So it comes with a different level of stress. And so that's my biggest thing against the notion of just working hard. It's like, we can all work hard, sure, but what does that result in the end?
It's finding the action that's smarter and then working hard to make that action actually take effect.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination. Like, if I just work hard now, like you said, I'll just be busy and I'd be maybe just focused on one thing, but that's not really like affecting as many people as it can. So if I choose to do a smart decision, I'll give an example. So I was helping this ice skate rink team. So this is an ice skate rink. If you're not familiar with it, it's outdoors. We're in California, so you know they just make up ice. No one's really familiar with skating on ice out in California unless you're in the hockey teams. And the capacity for this ice skate rink was up to 300 people. So it's a fairly large ice skate rink, and it's people who work there, the staff members and supervisors. Some of them had some ice skate rink experience, but a lot of them did not. And so one day, matter of fact, multiple days, I found myself wondering, how come it always seems that they're backed up, meaning that they were taking too long to check out new skates and taking them back in from people, almost like a bowling alley. You check in you get new shoes, you return it back. I was like, why are they taking so long to do that? Why is the longs to get onto the ice skate rink so long? And it was because I noticed that a lot of the people there, even the supervisors, were used to just having that small task of working hard. Like, all right, I gotta spray this, I gotta wipe this skate, and then I gotta pass it on. I gotta clean this area. And then when I jumped in, I was all like, I told the supervisor, I was like, you cannot be doing the hard work. You need to take a step back so you could keep your head up to see what's going on for the whole site. Because you have a site that could hold up to 300 people on the ice skate rink itself. That means that you have at least 700 people around the area of just hanging out or trying to get in. And so what this means is that we have to think about, how do we clean the facility? How do we make sure all the situations, any incidents are going to be responded to appropriately? How quickly are we getting through the lines for checking in and for checking out skates? And then they're like, but I need to, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And I'm like, you need to not be the one who's working hard in order to make the smart decisions for the team. Because once I inserted myself as an example to them, I started making decisions like, hey, you two are in charge for checkout. Don't open up any other checkout windows except for these two. Stay there. And if it gets backed up, tell the people who are bringing them in to slow it down. That create that system. So the smarter decision was, let's make a system and a process so that everyone could just focus on their hard task, but overall, we're moving faster and efficiently.
I agree with that completely. You know, what I think about is making sure that people have a process in place that allows for them to prevent issues and to maintain certain standards, as opposed to having to now play catch up or to treat things. And see, a lot of times we don't feel the weight of a situation until something goes south, and then it gets hard. That's when it gets hard. And I actually submit to you that a lot of people who are working hard, they're actually working hard because they ended up falling into the treatment phase as opposed to doing the preventative steps. You know, and so, you know, there's levels to working hard.
They're working hard because they're treating, but also because that tends to be the place where they're comfortable. They know what they have to do for this. And the part where they have to start thinking more like a bigger scope, that's the uncomfortable stage where they have to make the call, but they're not used to making the call. So they're scared to make the call, because if the call is bad, they're gonna get, in their mind, they're like, holy crap, I just messed up. But that's unfortunately, that was the biggest concern that one of the skate supervisors had. They're like, man, it's so different. And they were like, how do I get people to do what I want them to do? And how do I get, and how do I not be a jerk, but I still need to be stern enough? And I was like, well, this comes with having a higher level position. This comes with having a higher level of responsibilities, which means a higher level of income as well. And I think a lot of people who you were trying to level up, they were like, I see the stress that the leaders are having. I don't want to have any part of it, so keep me down here.
Oh yeah.
So that's a lifestyle choice on top of a financial choice.
Exactly, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that is a very real truth. I saw it a lot in the military. I saw it a lot of places I went to. People are cool with being at a certain level, especially like some people are cool with being at a mid-level, like where they're not like bottom of the barrel because they don't want to get all the crappy ends of the stick, but then at the same time they don't want all the responsibility, so they're like at this sweet middle spot, and they're like, this is the lifestyle I want, where I get to coast.
E4 Mafia.
Yeah, right. And so, you know, that's one of those things where, you know, I want our people to reboot their mindset in this way. Like, if you're working hard or you're not working hard, or whatever you consider yourself to be working, or however people perceive you, whatever, irrelevant. The better question is, what are your current efforts resulting in?
Yeah.
That's really the better question, because there's no right or wrong answer. It's really about, is this the lifestyle you want and are striving to attain? Or is there something else you want, but you're not willing to do the necessary changes? You're not ready to put in the work or whatever it is. Those are actually the right questions. I feel like the majority of, let me rephrase this. I completely believe that we all have the ability to make our lives exactly what we want it to be. It's just about our willingness and our desire to do so. I really do believe that. And so, you know, I don't penalize or don't come at somebody for quote unquote not working hard in your eyes, because you have to also remember that, one, you may be projecting, right?
Yeah.
Onto them, right? You may have fears. You may be secretly envious or whatever. And if that's not the case, you have to also remember that we're all different people. We all have different desires. We have different needs, right? There's different things that are going on. And so before you can ever really make a final judgment on what anyone is doing, you really have to first get to know what it is that they came from, what they're currently doing, what are they looking to achieve. That would let you, and you should do that for yourself personally, that will let you know whether or not you're in the right place, really. There is no right or wrong unless you are not in alignment with what it is you're striving to achieve. That's really it, you know? If you got great value out of this episode, make sure you share this with someone else so that they can start thinking about their lifestyle and what changes they need to be making right now. Until next time, Mindset Rebooted.
Sometimes when things go wrong, you can't blame life. Cause when you shot your shot, what was your aim like? What were you targeting? Cause if it ain't right, and you still go with it, then that is on you.